Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Wednesday, and we have a pretty good episode planned for you today. A lot of things have happened over the past couple days, and I want to bring you in on it. First of all, I wanted to talk, we're in June now, and we're getting close to Father's Day, and I have a lot of memories of my dad. And my dad was a great guy, and he was a super smart guy, and never finished high school, but one of the smartest guys I ever met. And funny thing about my father is that he would sit me down and have these talks with me, which is really important. And a lot of times I would have these same talks with my scouts, and I'm kind of passing it on to some of you younger guys that might take some information from this, because it really helped me out a lot when I was younger. And my dad would sit me down and he'd say, the way you think now, you will change. And it sounds obvious to us older guys, you say, yeah, of course you're going to change. But when you're younger, you kind of think that you're set, Once you hit 18, 20, you figure, I know what's going on. We get kind of cocky when we're young, and we figure we have the world and we know what we're doing, and your testosterone is flowing and everything's great. Things change, and everything's going to change so drastically. But not only do things change around us, but also our desires, our goals will constantly change. And I think back when I was 30 years old compared to now, I'm almost 60. So the difference between 30 and 60 is night and day, the way I think, and it's funny because I wish I could go back and kick myself in the butt back at 30 years old and say, listen, you're going to be doing this when you're 60, so, do this now. But you can't, it's part of growing up. But I remember if I had the choice when I was 30 years old between, let's say, a jet ski or a lazy boy, it would be a no-brainer, right? I'd take the jet ski, but here I am, 60 years old, man. I want that lazy boy. Lazy boy is the key. Oh, I love that. So you see how we change? If I had the choice back then between a Harley Davidson and a home theater, I would take the Harley Davidson. But now I'm pushing 60, and man, I'll tell you, that home theater is definitely the choice I would pick now, and something I would enjoy more. So even the vacations change, When I was 30, if you offered me a vacation with adventure and excite me, and going here and let's climb some mountain. Yeah, I'm in. But now it's like, I'll pass on the vacation. I'd rather enjoy my time at home and just relax, get some things done. It's strange how much we change. So, but one thing I always wanted as a kid, and I know this is going to sound crazy because that didn't change, but one thing I always wanted, when I was a kid, I used to deliver newspapers as a kid, and I don't know what it is about me. I always liked cyclone fences. And I said, one day I'm going to have a house and I'm going to put a cyclone fence. I just like them. I like them. I'm not crazy about the PVC fence, especially around here. They're like billboards for graffiti. But I always like those heavy-duty, industrial-looking cyclone fences. So it came time where I said, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. And also, I'm worried about somebody ripping off my catalytic converter. Now, that is the truth. I am. Every time, even no matter where I go now, I'm always like, wherever I park, I'm like, man, I don't want to. You got to look around. It's nuts, right? Catalytic converters. Jeez. Anyway, so I said, okay, I'm going to get myself a fence. So I wanted to talk a little bit about if you're going to buy something. Now, anybody here, now you could do it yourself, but the problem is getting some of the equipment around here, I wanted a commercial grade fence. I didn't want, and of course you go to Home Depot, you look at it's crap, some of the stuff. It's really gotten to the point where some of that, we all know about how bad their lumber got after a while, but now even, some of their products there's homeowner grade and there's like below homeowner grade. This stuff is getting really chintzy because they're trying to save money because things are going up so much. So I started looking around for a fence company. I said, I'm going to, have a nice fence put in. And I was looking around at all different places around where I live in Queens. And there's a lot of fence places. So I called up a bunch and, you kind of get a feel. Now, obviously, forget about the price. They're all going to be somewhat in the ballpark. Some are going to be very low. Some are going to be high. But you kind of go in the middle, but you got to go with a feel, a gut instinct when you talk to the guy. Also, when you call him up, I'm telling you, people don't want to work today. It's insane. You ever have to, you try and get work done. It's like, first of all, if you call somebody up for an estimate and they don't get back to you within 2 days, that's it. I don't want to hear from them. Don't even call me back. An estimate, that guy should get back to you within 24 hours. That's number one. Number two, if they, if when you talk to them, if they sound like they don't want to do the job, there's a good chance they don't want to do the job. So that's another one. You kick them off the list. So when I was looking around, I finally found somebody that was really good. So after looking through a bunch of websites and looking at their work, jobs they completed, I saw there was one guy that stood out. I just loved the way his work looked. He looked like he used heavy duty stuff, and I wanted like a commercial fence, so I went with a commercial guy. And this guy, I texted him, emailed, he got right back to me. And not only did he get right back to me, it's funny because he looked at my name. He says, it looks like your name sounds German. I said, yeah, I'm German and Polish. And then it turns out this guy's Polish, so we hit it off right away. Great guy. And then once we started talking and I showed him a diagram of what I wanted, he was just fantastic. And let me tell you the story about what happened. Now, one thing that really helps is if you're thinking of getting any kind of work done, it really helps to make up a quick sketch. And the reason is because this way you might be describing something or whatever, or a lot of times you'll forget, when you're describing a job, especially when you're trying to get an estimate or something. So this is always a good thing to have. Had as you can see here, I just drew out a sketch of the type of fence I wanted. It's not to scale, but it just gives some basic dimensions, 33 feet wide. And I had to have an 8-inch gap here because that's not my property line actually here. And then, some I wanted commercial poles you could see up here. And, I wanted the heavier duty green fence, the vinyl covered green. The gate would be about 3 foot, 5 foot driveway gates. You see, and this way they know exact. And when they see that, it helps them too because they know what you wanted. They say, okay, you got a picture instead of you saying, I don't know, what do you think? And they like to do a job. They don't want to be trying to do a mind reading. And also, so when David saw this, he was like, fantastic, absolutely, no problem. And the second thing I asked him to do, which a lot of gate places don't do, I wanted some diagonal bracing on the driveway gates. Now, usually they do a cross bracing across here, but I've, through the years, and it's only 5 foot, so you don't really have to worry about too much sag, but I don't know. I just like the extra, dude, in case people step on it, hang on it or whatever. You don't want a crooked gate after a couple of years. So, David was great. He makes his own stuff. He makes everything himself. So he's like, no problem. Now, on the first day, the two Davids, David and his partner David, show up. First of all, they show up 20 minutes early. I love that. Instead of being late, they were right on time. They had all the equipment ready. He started digging. There was tremendous roots and rocks in there. He went down 4 feet. He went down below the frost line, used 3 bags of cement in each hole. It was fantastic. By the end of the day, he had everything lined up perfectly, and the poles were in there solid. And just take a look at some of these roots they had to dig out of those holes. These are actual roots that came out of the holes. Look at the size of these things. Now, I could have never done this with my, by myself without the special equipment. And look at the alignment on these poles. I mean, that's just perfect. I was so happy. And 4 days later, after the cement cured, he came back, and now it was a little bit hot. It was about 100 degrees out there, but the humidity wasn't too bad, but it was hot. And he was out there. The gates were already made at his shop, custom made. He stretched the fence. And this guy went over everything. The two Davids were just unbelievable, going through each and every aspect of this fence to make sure I was happy. Now, I had very high expectations for this fence, and they absolutely nailed it. I really am happy. One other thing that was great was David is big into tools. So we were yapping about all different types of tools, and he loves to collect them, and forget it, his whole truck was loaded. We kept talking. One of the things I looked at, he was using a special pair of pliers, and I was looking at the profile of these pliers. I said, look at that. We just did that Utica 1000. We reprofiled them to look just like them, and he has to get them special because they're very hard to get. A lot of his tools he gets from Europe, things like that. So it was a great experience all in all, but had a great time, and I want to give special thanks out to David for doing the job. Next up, I went to the flea market last week, and it was a hot day walking around, so I was in and out early. I picked up a couple things, but one of the things I picked up, I think you'll find pretty interesting. Check this out.
Now, sometimes you'll go to the flea market and you'll see something that just reminds you of when you were a kid. And I had one of these when I was a kid, and I just had to have. Can you remember these? It's such a simple design, and it makes it has the chimes inside. I don't know. Had it when I was a kid. I looked at it. I said, I got to put that back in one of my cabinets because it's that's pretty much the way I walk now. Okay, next up, I got this. Well, you tell me. What do you think this is? Look at the size of it here. You know, at first a couple people were thinking it was a cannonball or whatever. You said it could be, right? But check this out. Once I saw the bottom of this, I think I figured out what it was. You see that? This is a shot put. And a vintage shot put, because they used to put the weights in, and it is 10 pounds. I did verify the weight. It's pretty heavy for a ball, but I always want to see, I wonder what this would look like cleaned up a little bit. Now, obviously, it's not meant to be, you know, polished or whatever, but, and it's kind of a rough exterior, but I just want to see if we can clean up a little bit. I'm going to put this in vinegar. Only because I got that big bucket of vinegar. I don't want to waste the evaporust on something like this. And again, we're going to hit it with the flap wheel, but I just want to get off some of that surface rust. So we'll be back with after 24 hours. Okay, here we go. 24 hours after the vinegar soak. You can see it got rid of a lot of the rust. You can see here what it looks like, you know. And now what I did was I touched a little section of it with the wire brush. Doesn't that look nice? Look at that, huh? So this is what vinegar will do, you know, and I neutralized it with some baking soda. I wiped it with a little wire brush every 8 hours or so, and so that's about what you're going to get out of vinegar. So let's hit it with the wire brush. Okay, here's our post-wire brush evaluation. You can see here the ball looks nice, right? It's a nice cast iron ball. And you could see here, I guess this is where the two halves of the mold met, and there was probably some sprue or flashing, whatever, and they ground it off, and that's what the whole ball would look like if I went with a grinder. But I actually like this actually textured, especially if you're going to use it for a shot put. I don't know if any of you are familiar with shot puts. 10 pounds is pretty unusual size, probably meant for a high school or something. Shot puts traditionally are 16 pounds for the men. For the women, it's just under 9 pounds. It's like 8.8 pounds for the women. There's a lot of rules and regulations that go to using or throwing the shot put. You have to start off with it in your hand. It has to be between your neck and your collarbone, so to speak, before you throw it. It's very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of you, like me, remember growing up watching the Olympics and you know how great it was to see some of these track and field events like the shot put, the javelin, and the discus. I've always been a fan of those, and I introduced my scouts to some of these by bringing down different. I have rubber practice discs and also some practice javelins. You got to be real careful. For the shot puts, I used some old bocce balls. I didn't want the kids to throw their arms out because, believe it or not, this 10-pound ball, I don't know if you ever felt what a 10-pound ball feels like when you're holding it in your hand. It's definitely something. It's good for your grip, and it's a real manly sport, huh? Okay, so I think what I'm going to do with this, I want to shellac it. So we're just going to do a little more cleanup, and then we'll put a coat of shellac on here. And we're calling this project done. There's 2 coats of shellac on here. We did a little Scout Crafter red where the 10 was, and it just, you know, it's protected now, and this is something, even to make a good exercise ball. If ever you're going to store something like this, it's always good to have a washer or something, because you don't want this rolling off a shelf or wherever you put it onto the floor, because it will do some damage. But here we have a little 10-pound cast iron shot put. Probably you don't see too many of them being restored. Real quick, right? So when I mentioned the other day that I was going to put up a flagpole, and everybody was all excited, Mike Bashford said, why don't you put one on your truck? Hold my beer, Mike. You know, when I first got my truck, one of the first things I did, of course, was make sure I could put a flagpole on it, you know, because when I used to go into work, later on at night, I would drive in with this just for the fun of it, and also parade days and any kind of day like that. So we got you covered. So in closing, you see it's been kind of a busy couple days for me, but I'll be back in the saddle again for Friday. We'll have some tool instructions, some other things I bought. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care now. Bye-bye.